If you don't have anything to say, you blab. You just go on and on and on and on and on and on and on.
Voters do not agree with these despicable women on The View. They are wildly out of touch with the vast majority of Americans, and frankly, they should seek immediate help because
after years of Whoopi Goldberg running the table on The View, talking over conservative guests, and brushing off any opinion that didn't match hers, the tables finally turned, and in the most unexpected way. She's been the loudest voice on that set for years, shutting down others mid-sentence, getting applauded by her co-hosts, and steering every hot topic toward her own narrative. But this time, things didn't go her way at all. Enter Karoline Leavitt, young, sharp, and absolutely unbothered by the panel's usual tactics. She didn't just show up for a polite back and forth. Karoline came prepared and fearless. And what happened next wasn't just a simple disagreement. It was a total shutdown. This wasn't some soft clapback moment. Karoline exposed Whoopi's double standards right there on national television. It was a moment that had everyone in the studio dead silent. Even Joy Behar didn't know what to say, and that says a lot. Karoline didn't hold back. She called out Whoopi for her past statements, pointing out how she flips the script depending on the topic and who she's talking about. With receipts in hand, Karoline highlighted clear contradictions in Whoopi's arguments, and didn't flinch once. It wasn't rude, it wasn't dramatic, it was straight facts, delivered with confidence, and it was brutal. Whoopi tried to push back, but her usual sarcasm and head tilting didn't land this time. The audience could feel it. The energy shifted completely.
I had something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said there will be no wokeness here. Oh, yeah. Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah. The most divisive and disgusting speech that any president, certainly in my lifetime, has ever given. He essentially waged war on half of the country by saying that we are all a threat to democracy because we believe in putting America first. It's not radical to want to put your country and your own people first. It's not radical to want to have a strong border, a strong military, and to unleash the might of your own economy, not economies around the world. You know, we have seen cultural Marxism trickling its way through every institution in this country. The public school system, the higher education university system, Hollywood, big tech, the corrupt mainstream media that I fought against in President Trump's White House are indoctrinating my generation of Americans into hating our country, hating one another based on race and gender and sex and all of this other BS, quite frankly.
Within minutes of that broadcast airing, social media exploded. Clips of the exchange were everywhere. Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, with millions of views racking up by the hour. Comment sections lit up with people saying things like finally someone stood up to them and Karoline just did what no one else had the guts to do. It was one of those moments that people instantly knew would go down in daytime TV history. Backstage, it was chaos. According to insiders, ABC execs were blindsided. They weren't expecting that kind of heat. Emergency meetings were reportedly called the same day, with top producers scrambling to do damage control. Rumors started flying that some team members might be on the chopping block. One source even said they're considering a full panel shakeup if the backlash keeps growing. Whoopi's name? Yep, it was mentioned more than once. Her future on The View suddenly doesn't look as secure as it did just 24 hours ago. This wasn't just a spicy segment, it was a full-on reckoning, and Karoline lit the match. So what exactly did she say that shook up the entire show? Well, it started off calm, as always, with Whoopi and Joy Behar trying to corner Karoline into admitting that America's getting better because of what they call woke progress. They hit her with the usual talking points: diversity wins, inclusive language, corporate pride campaigns, the whole 9 yards. But Karoline wasn't having it. She kept her cool, smiled, and then dropped the hammer. She said, "It's not about inclusion, it's about control. You only support freedom of speech when it fits your politics." Boom, that one line made Whoopi blink hard. And then Karoline kept going. She brought up examples where The View had mocked conservatives for simply having different beliefs. She quoted Whoopi's past comments on major scandals and compared them to how she treats her favorite politicians. The whole room got quiet. Even the live audience didn't know whether to clap or gasp. Joy tried to save the moment with one of her sarcastic jokes, but it flopped. Sunny Hostin looked uncomfortable, and Whoopi? She just sat there, stunned. Karoline Leavitt didn't just push back, She flipped the whole script. True to form, Whoopi sat back with that same smug, unbothered face she always pulls when someone challenges her. The one that screams, "I know better than you." Meanwhile, Joy Behar leaned in with her usual sarcastic attitude and threw out a comment that had everyone raising their eyebrows. Oh, so now we're judging women based on their looks? Seriously? That one line dripped with so much hypocrisy it could fill the Hudson River.
I think she's probably been put in there because according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though, it's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
Coming from the same crew that spent years mocking and dragging conservative women for their clothes, their hair, their voice, and pretty much every surface level thing you can name. Now suddenly they want to act like they're defenders of women's dignity. Please. But Karoline Leavitt, she wasn't buying it. Not for a second. She didn't flinch. No fake smiles, no polite fake laughs. She just looked Whoopi dead in the eye and hit back with a question so sharp it sliced through the whole set. Whoopi, do you even hear yourself? That one sentence? It landed like a punch. No yelling, no drama, just pure, direct, and undeniable truth. The moment she said it, everything stopped. The studio went dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. The audience froze. Even the camera guy probably forgot to blink. Whoopi's expression? Stone cold. No witty comeback. No smug grin. Just stuck. That clip spread across the internet like wildfire. It blew up on every platform in record time. TikTok, Instagram, X. Everyone was talking about it. Influencers, political commentators, meme pages, even celebs reposted it, saying things like, "That's how you handle fake feminism." And finally, someone said what we've all been thinking. People called it the most satisfying moment in the show's history. And honestly, they weren't lying. For the first time in a long time, the bullies on TheView, the ones who usually tag team and gang up on any guest who dares to disagree, were left speechless. The roles reversed in real time. And it wasn't even loud or chaotic. It was calm, calculated, and devastating. Karoline's words hit even harder when she followed up with a truth bomb that absolutely shut the whole thing down. "You sit here preaching about women's empowerment," she said, her voice steady and fierce. "But when a conservative woman succeeds, you claim it's because of her looks." Boom. No comeback, no clapping, just silence.
Do you want to take this?
So you cannot be attractive and smart? I will try to give Joy the benefit of, well, thank you. I try to give Joy the benefit of the doubt that she didn't see that briefing. Because if you saw that yesterday on numerous topics, no big binder, I think she might have had a different impression of this young woman who held her own.
I mean, you would have to give her the benefit of the doubt that she did absolutely no research or reading about anything dealing with Karoline Leavitt before she made that remark. Because Karoline Leavitt worked, I mean, she went to St. Anselm College, she worked for WMUR
Ran for
TV.
Congress?
In New Hampshire, she ran for Congress at the age of 25, put on a very good campaign. She lost by 8 or 9 points, but she still put on a good campaign. Then she was the press secretary for the Trump campaign, going on TV literally every day.
Well, heavily pregnant and a new mom.
Pregnant. Yeah, she's a new mother. And then she goes out yesterday and gives and this, again, this is speaking very objectively, because I've watched every press secretary since going back to Marlon Fitzwater. Yeah, I'm that old. And she went out there for her very first briefing at the age of 27 years old, the youngest press secretary ever, and did a terrific job of
It was like she cracked the code, because that's exactly what they've been doing for years, pretending to fight for women while tearing down anyone who doesn't fit their political narrative, whether it's slamming Republican moms, laughing at conservative candidates, or mocking women who don't align with Hollywood values. They've made a sport out of it, but now they got called out on live TV and by someone who refused to play by their rules. Behind the scenes, it's been absolute chaos. According to multiple insiders, the atmosphere at TheView has shifted big time. Tension is through the roof. What used to be a set filled with light jokes and backstage gossip is now full of whispers, side eyes, and producers walking on eggshells. Some longtime staffers are saying it out loud. This might be the start of a major shakeup. Word is, execs at ABC were not happy with how things went down. Not just because Karoline embarrassed the panel, but because of how quickly the public backed her. The backlash wasn't coming from just one side either. Even neutral viewers said the co-hosts looked rattled and unprepared. That's not a good look for a legacy show that's supposed to set the tone for daytime TV. Producers are now being forced to face the reality. People are tired of the same old smug behavior. They want real conversations, not a talk show version of a high school clique. And Karoline's moment might have been the spark that finally sets off real change. Some rumors even suggest that senior producers are reviewing the format, possibly adding new guest perspectives more frequently, or even bringing in someone to challenge Whoopi directly on the panel. One staffer reportedly said, "This shook up everything. There's a new energy now. Nothing feels stable anymore." And that's the thing, and the entire dynamic has shifted. The untouchables on TheView just got touched. Hard. Whoopi, who's usually untouchable in her throne-like chair, now faces a wave of criticism from both inside and outside the studio. Joy, who often throws out snide remarks and gets away with it, found herself looking defensive and uncomfortable. And Sunny, well, let's just say she kept her comments short after that. The power dynamic on the set? Completely rattled. This wasn't just another heated exchange. This was a moment that broke the script. For once, the guest didn't back down. She didn't laugh nervously or apologize for having a different view. Karoline stood firm, stayed classy, and still managed to tear through layers of fake empowerment with just a few lines of truth. And now, TheView is left with a serious question. What happens when the audience stops cheering for the host and starts rooting for the guest? Because after that moment, everything changed. That's the real sexism, Karoline snapped. And with that single line, the whole energy inside the studio changed in an instant. You could practically hear the brakes screeching on set. The crowd frozen. No awkward laughter, no fake claps. Just pure, stunned silence. Even Joy Behar, who never misses a beat to cut someone off mid-sentence, sat there speechless. Mouth slightly open, no interruptions, no sarcastic jabs, nothing. And Karoline, she wasn't done, not even close. With all eyes on her, she took a breath and hit them with another brutal truth. Wokeness isn't about equality anymore, she said, her voice steady, eyes locked on Whoopi. It's become a political weapon to silence anyone who disagrees. And Whoopi, you prove that every single day on this show. That line echoed through the studio like a mic drop that no one saw coming. There were audible gasps from the audience. You know it's serious when even the live crowd, usually coached to clap on cue, couldn't hide their reaction. Viewers watching at home immediately knew they had just witnessed a historic live TV moment.
That was so good. So good. In a statement afterwards, this young lady claimed her, quote, on-air snub proves that you-know-who will not be treated fairly in the upcoming debate. Now, do you think this is going to make people doubt whether CNN can stay objective, or is this more the same of, it's all, everybody's against me, it's all rigged, I tell you. Is everything rigged?
Within minutes, social media exploded. TikTokers started remixing Karoline's lines into audio edits. Political pages reposted the clip with captions like, "She ended her with facts only," and "The day the View got viewed." Hashtags like Karoline exposed them, Whoopi shutdown, and real empowerment started trending on X and Instagram. People from both political sides were chiming in, and surprisingly, even some left-leaning voices admitted that Karoline had made valid points. The View started trending nationwide, not because of some celebrity guest or viral cooking segment, but because someone finally called out the panel's hypocrisy on their own turf. And Karoline didn't raise her voice once. But while the internet celebrated the moment, chaos was erupting behind closed doors. ABC's top brass were not ready for the firestorm that had just hit them. According to insiders, the network went into full-on emergency mode. Phones were blowing up, producers were scrambling, high-level meetings were held immediately after the taping. Executives started tossing around phrases like crisis management and brand stability. And then, just when the dust seemed like it might settle, things got even worse. Reports began leaking from inside the production team, and they weren't pretty. Word on the street was that multiple senior producers were furious, not just at Karoline's takedown, but at Whoopi's complete failure to control the situation. Apparently, there had been pre-show meetings on how to steer the conversation, and Whoopi was expected to handle Karoline. Instead, she froze, she fumbled, she got dragged. Then came the sponsor calls. Major advertisers, who've supported The View for years, started reaching out to ABC, quietly expressing concern. Some hinted that they were considering pulling pulling future ads unless the tone of the show shifted. And just like that, the real pressure started building. Not from Twitter, but from the companies funding the entire operation. Next, the bombshell. The very next morning, fans noticed something strange. Whoopi Goldberg was mysteriously absent from the show. No heads up, no clear explanation, just gone. ABC's on-air message was vague, to say the least. A co-host looked into the camera and said, "Whoopi is taking time to reflect on recent discussions and conversations on the show." That was it. No details, no schedule, no clue when or if she'd be back. But let's be real, nobody bought it. Fans online immediately called out the statement for what it was: damage control. People flooded the comments on TheView's official page, saying things like reflect or suspended, and she's not on vacation, she's getting checked. Theories flew fast. Was she benched, quietly removed, on probation? One thing was crystal clear: the queen of the panel was suddenly on thin ice, and the fallout didn't stop there. Overnight, TheView's ratings started dipping. Viewership dropped across multiple demographics. Not just conservative-leaning fans, but even some longtime supporters who felt the co-host had lost control. The show's reputation as a leading voice for women's issues began to crack. People were questioning if it was still a safe space for different opinions, or just a platform for one-sided lectures. Advertisers took notice. Confidence was shaken. A few pulled back temporarily. Others reportedly put their campaigns on review, which in TV speak means we might be done here.
While I vow to provide the truth from this podium, we ask that all of you in this room hold yourselves to that same standard. We know for a fact there have been lies that have been pushed by many legacy media outlets in this country about this president, about his family, and we will not accept that. We will call you out when we feel that your reporting is wrong or there is misinformation about this White House.
Boo. She's got more.
I would like to point out to each and every one of you that in 2024, when Joe Biden was in the Oval Office, or upstairs in the residence sleeping, I'm not so sure, egg prices increased 65% in this country.
Bam!
And now, ABC is stuck in a nightmare scenario. The show's credibility is damaged, the ratings are dropping, their biggest star is missing, and the audience, once loyal and unshakable, is starting to walk away. Insiders say board members are asking tough questions behind closed doors. How did it spiral this fast? Why wasn't the panel better prepared? What happens if Whoopi can't recover? And most importantly, is the show still worth protecting? Because let's not forget, this isn't just some casual daytime talk show. TheView is a billion-dollar brand. It drives ad revenue, shapes political discussion, and holds major influence. And now, it's hanging by a thread. So here it is, the billion-dollar question now staring ABC execs right in the face. Do they double down and protect the legacy of Whoopi and her crew, or do they hit the reset button to save the show from total collapse? So here's the real question staring ABC dead in the face. Do they finally clean house and bring balance back to TheView, or do they keep clinging to a formula that's clearly falling apart? Let's be brutally honest, this show has always fed off controversy. That's nothing new. Drama has been their bread and butter since the beginning. Fiery debates, over-the-top reactions, viral moments that grab attention for all the wrong reasons. It's what kept them relevant all these years. But now, the controversy isn't helping, it's hurting. And when the backlash starts costing more than the ratings bring in, the math becomes impossible to ignore. That's not just a dip in viewership, it's a full-blown identity crisis. Right now, ABC's daytime giant is dancing on the edge of a cliff, and no amount of PR spin can cover it up. Advertisers, the real power players behind the curtain, are already getting cold feet. Behind the scenes, sources say some are reviewing contracts, while others are reconsidering renewal altogether. These companies don't want their brands tied to a show that looks more like a scandal machine than a trusted platform. You can't sell empowerment while your hosts are getting called out for silencing guests. You can't talk about justice while dodging accountability. And you definitely can't act untouchable when your audience starts walking away. Their credibility shattered. The illusion that TheView speaks for all women gone. Viewers, many who stuck by the show through all kinds of chaos, are now changing the channel, and not quietly. They're posting their exit in real time, letting everyone them know they've had enough of the snark, the bullying, and the clear political bias dressed up as progressive conversation. For decades, The View has been a staple in daytime television, but lately, it feels like that legacy is crumbling live on air. Every new episode feels less like a discussion and more like a performance, where one side's always right and the other side's there to get steamrolled. And this time, the performance didn't land at all. Karoline Leavitt's appearance might have been the moment that tipped everything over. When she walked on that set, the hosts expected to corner her like they've done with dozens of guests before, but she flipped the script calmly, directly, and without raising her voice. She didn't just clap back, she exposed years of fake virtue signaling in under 5 minutes. And when she asked Whoopi, "Do you even hear yourself?" it wasn't just a mic drop, it was a mirror, one the panel clearly wasn't ready to face. That viral moment didn't just trend because it was savage, it struck a nerve. It revealed what a lot of people had been thinking but were too scared to say, that The View has become a megaphone for a narrow agenda where disagreement isn't welcomed, it's punished. The fallout says everything. Whoopi's sudden absence, the leaks from inside production, the social media firestorm that refuses to die down. This wasn't just another messy headline. It feels like the beginning of the end. ABC's vague statement about Whoopi taking time to reflect on recent discussions fooled absolutely no one. Viewers aren't dumb. They saw what happened. They saw how she froze on live TV, how the entire table fell apart when someone challenged them without playing the usual game. The internet lit up with comments like, "She finally got checked," and "Whoopi couldn't handle the truth." The power dynamic shifted in real time, and the fallout continues to ripple. Insiders now say producer meetings have become tense and unpredictable. There's no solid direction, just panic, emergency calls, damage control, the kind of backstage chaos that only happens when a show knows it's in trouble but doesn't know what to do. And it's not just viewers speaking out, it's sponsors. Quiet, powerful sponsors who control the money flow. If they walk, the show walks with them. That's why ABC is in full-blown scramble mode. They're not just fighting to protect the host, they're fighting to save the entire brand. So now everyone's asking the same thing, and did Karoline Leavitt just hammer in the final nail? Is this what it looks like when a show finally runs out of excuses? After 25 years on air, The View may be standing at the edge of its final chapter, not because of one guest, but because they refuse to adapt, refuse to balance the conversation, and refuse to acknowledge the growing frustration from both sides of the aisle. For too long, they relied on outrage to drive relevance. But outrage has a shelf life, and when the shock factor wears off, all that's left is a format that feels stale, bitter, and out of touch. This moment doesn't feel like just another scandal. It feels like a wake-up call, a breaking point, a turning tide. Viewers are no longer laughing along, they're questioning everything. Why do dissenting opinions get mocked? Why do conservative women get called names while the hosts demand respect? Why is empowerment only extended to people who agree? These are the conversations happening online. Loud, direct, and impossible for ABC to ignore. So now the billion-dollar question sits heavy in the air. Can the show survive this? Can it rebuild what's been broken? The writing's on the wall, the clock is ticking, and for the first time in over 2 decades, The View's future looks shaky. No amount of spin, celebrity guests, or viral sound bites can patch up a show that's bleeding credibility from every angle. This might be the moment that rewrites daytime television history, because if The View can fall this hard after this long, it means no show is safe. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Was this the most brutal takedown in The View's history? Has Whoopi finally crossed the line one too many times? Does ABC need to show her the door? And most importantly, after this earthquake of a moment, is there any way for the show to survive? If you made it this far, hit that like button to show some love, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss a single update. Because trust me, this story, it's far from over.